I will start as a, and then Venna will take over. So my name is Natallia Schönnagel, and I am working at ThyssenKrupp Rothe Erde. Should I click? Or
Yes.
Let me then click is. Okay, so ThyssenKrupp Rothe Erde is an industrial company, and we are producing slewing bearing. We are market leader. We have our 15 plants all over the world, our 7,000 employees, and we are processing about 15,000 tons of steel each month. So slewing bearing are used in different applications. Everything which is big and turns needs a slewing bearing, like for example excavator, cranes, ship propeller, tunnel boring machines, some antennas, medical scanners, and the half of our sales is going to the wind energy bearings, because there are some blades have to turn. The turbine on the jaw bearing is also required. And as we belong to ThyssenKrupp Group, and ThyssenKrupp has committed also to the climate target. So you have heard a lot of this, all companies are doing this, so we are going to reduce our Scope 1 and Scope 2 emission by 30% in 2030, and 16% of Scope 3 emissions, and we would like to be a climate neutral by 2050. So we at ThyssenKrupp Rothe Erde, we are using a lot of energy. So this is our worldwide consumption. Last fiscal year, we have used our 660 gigawatt of energy. The biggest portion of our energy is caused by gas. And this results in a very high carbon footprint of our company. So, of course, we have collected a roadmap from all our companies. I'm not going into the details. If you have questions, you can ask it afterwards, because I think it's pretty the same in all big companies. And it's not a big deal to reach this reduction of 30% in 2030. And but it's a really challenge for us to be climate neutral in 2050. And especially our dependency on the gas is giving me a headache, how to skip this technology, how to overcome this. And this is why we have decided in ThyssenKrupp not to focus only one of the topic, but we said to reach these targets, we have to do everything. We have to push all the buttons. So I've just presented you some selected topics, what we are doing in our companies and in all our plants, not only in Germany or in Western Europe, but we have to deal with it also in the USA, in China, in India, in Japan. So we are trying to buy the green electricity where possible. We are doing it with the certificates or with the PPAs. We are investing also in our own photovoltaic on the roofs of our production plants. We are running every year energy efficiency programs. At the moment, it's always a profitability calculation behind this efficiency programs. And we have decided to start a special project, which is a carbon capture project. And normally all good stories start with a journey. So was also in our case, my boss, our CEO, he went to Sweden to meet our business partner, and they have negotiated, and in the evening they spoke just about this and that, and then our business partner told him about the biochar, about using biochar in Sweden, and he told him about the pyrolysis equipment. And in this evening my boss texted me, okay, Natallia, we are going to do wood to carbon. We need a pyrolysis equipment. And just said, okay, we are doing bearings, I understand steel, maybe I understand wood and carbon, but what does it mean with to our business? So then I just opened the search engine, and then I just tried to find as much as possible information on this topic. And you know, when you start to look for something, you look on the Wikipedia and then YouTube videos, and then you're just learning everything about terra preta and the old Incas, and you say, okay, biochar, look like the oldest new thing we have here. And so some weeks later, we have decided, okay, we are doing this project. So to just explain you shortly on this slide what it is about. So we have purchased pyrolysis equipment from the company Pyrrhic. It will be fitted every day by the wood chips. We have in our bearing production also our own box production. So we have some wood waste. Currently we are paying money to dispose this wood. So we have decided we can use it already for this process. So there is a carbonization process inside this equipment, and these wooden chips are converted to the biochar, which is a great product. You can see here a short video. We will sell this biochar to the agriculture, for the agricultural purpose. And during this carbonization process, a lot of heat is produced, and we will use this heat in our premises to generate hot water, to use it in our heating system, or to use it for the showers of our employees. So why the biochar is the oldest new thing? We have heard already today a lot of the quality of the soil, of the importance, and this is like a super weapon from my point of view. It's a very porous. It can save a lot of water and also nutrition. It saves CO2. So when the tree is growing, it's captured the CO2 from the atmosphere. It's during the carbonization process, it stays here in the biochar. Biochar is like 100% of CO2, and if the farmers put it in the soil, they improve the quality of the soil, and this CO2 remains there over 1,000 years captured. Yeah, it's not released again to the atmosphere. So about the technical.
I think you switched one slide. You have to go back.
Yeah. So about the technical, some technical information. So we will need about 2,500 tons of wooden chips per year for this equipment. We will generate about more than 5,000 gigawatt of energy in terms of warm water. With this, we will generate over 640 tons of biochar. This process will be certificated, so we will receive also the CO2 certificates for this process. So you can imagine we will look to ThyssenKrupp, how many freedom I have to spend investment on projects, like about this one. So I have to prepare profitability calculation for each project. So we done it also for this one. So we have this cash flow discounted model. So I have on the cash out, I have the investment and the cost to maintain this equipment, and the cash in side, I have the earnings from the selling of the biochar. I have the earnings on the savings on the natural gas, because I can use this energy in our heating system. I save on disposal of my wooden chips because I'm using it for it, and I will pay also less CO2 taxes, and this amount is increasing every year. And also with the certificates, so what is calculated here is about 2,300 tons of CO2 is just a conservative way to calculate it. Maybe it could be even more. And this is the reason why we have decided to start with this project. The equipment will be delivered next summer, and then we will start to produce the biochar. So this is just a short overview the main points why we have decided to this project just cover not only one point, yeah, it covers lots of points. So we have this also circular economy, we have this regenerative heat and emission avoidance, and we have also the carbon removal certificate. So this is something which is not only carbon neutral, this is really a carbon sink model. And I will go over to Venna. She will explain it a little bit more on the certification process.
Yes, so one has to differentiate between the emission avoidance and the removal certificates, right? So whenever in this case, it's actually really 3 times of sustainability that we're touching with the project. And if we talk about certification, and now I'm only talking about the removal certification, we already heard yesterday Antti from Puro Earth, where you can actually have this certificate, the methodology, and they give out the certificate, and you could also trade the certificate. In this case, we don't trade it because, of course, it goes to ThyssenKrupp. There is another company called Carbon Future who's already doing both. They are also giving out the certification. You can trade through them, but you can also use them as the registry. There will be a new standard by Verra coming out, which is with the colleagues of Alliance developed, and it should be out by the end of the year, as far as I'm concerned, right? So then there is also another international methodology for those certificates. There's something with First Climate that I'm not really aware of because I haven't really handled those certificates. And there is a certification for the sink certificates, but also for the quality of the biochar in Europe called European Biochar Certificate, which is also quite established. Seeing all this means that you can already trade those. It's not just an idea or some paper that you put up where you're saying, okay, now I have a certificate, but it's a tradable good. You can earn money with it, or if you not use it for offsetting, you can use it for insetting, which is what we're doing in the case of ThyssenKrupp. And then if you see all this, you might ask yourself, well, if this is all so good, so why hasn't biochar scaled so far? And until now, most of the times, the pyrolysis technology was actually used to produce biochar. And what is really great for me in this project is that for the first time, we use this technology not for the means for the biochar, but actually for the means of the removal certificate. So we're taking this technology and we're trying to implement it in the industry and try actually to scale biochar. Because we believe at the moment we have everything together to do so. And in the past, this process has been along for really some time. It's been like people are working on this for 20 years. And until now, it didn't really fly. And this is why we're so excited, because for Carbo Control, we only launched that brand in January. ThyssenKrupp is our first client that we can actually talk about and go out with. So this is our baby step. And we're really happy and honored that ThyssenKrupp is on our side here and that we're doing this together. The applications, Natallia explained, so the trees or the plants take the CO2 out of the atmosphere, then it's in the carbon of the biomass, then we take the pyrolysis and we make it stable, so we have stable carbon. But then in order to store it in the ground, you need some kind of application. Otherwise, you just have a chunk of biochar lying around. And direct air capture, it would be if you only have the CO2 in a container, that's not enough. It has to go down in the ground or down into applications. And there are a few applications around that can do this. So first of all, agriculture. This is actually for us at the moment a little bit of plain vanilla. That's well researched. It's just at the moment biochar is still too expensive for implementing it in agriculture big time. But with this new market rising up now and really removal certificates getting a real value, this will change. We know we can bring it into building materials, although I have to admit we are working on this with like 3 or 5 different universities, and this is still in the beginning. So it would be too big to say, okay, now we can make a CO2 neutral concrete. We're just not there yet. You can use it, we use it as an additive already. So we know that we can use it, for example, for flooring. You can put a CO2 neutral carpet. If you use the biochar and the matrix that you put the flooring on top, it is CO2 neutral. We know that we can inset the biochar into the product in order to on top of all the benefits that we explained before, have actually a CO2 neutral product. So we believe there are those applications, and one of our missions is to push those applications and push the frontiers to really take them forward, because if we don't have the applications, there will be no certification. If we say insetting, what do we mean? This is now what you see here, for example, one of the concrete tests that we're doing. But I told you before, for like agriculture, it's a little bit of plain vanilla. Here we have nutshells. We know how to do soils with this biochar. So if you're a food production company, and for example, you use this whole process exactly like ThyssenKrupp is doing, you use the removal certificates, but you bring not the concrete, but imagine some earth or some soil being there, you bring the soil back to your supply chain and to your producers, you can actually create an insetting in your whole supply chain. Then you have regenerative energy, you have removal certificates, you avoid fossil fuels, and you can then on top try to monetize the value of the biochar by bringing it in your product. In this case, this is a test that we did with cement, which is still being developed. And this is another thing that I'd like to point out, because we're very happy that it works right now. We are developed together with the University of Hannover the pellets to do polypropylene out of biochar. So we can actually, not all, we're still in the phase of researching it more, but we have really, really nice examples if we have 15 to 30% less fossil ingredients in polypropylene, and we take biochar instead, which is very exciting and promising. And here on top, as an input material, you also see the wood chips, which is most used at the moment. Well, but then why hasn't biochar scaled so far? Well, talking about this, you see that it's a lot of topics that I'm touching. That's quite a lot to do. You have to research your input materials. You have to see what kind of input materials do I have and what kind of biochar can I actually create out of this. Then you have to decide, okay, which kind of technology do I want to use? Which kind of technology is the best for this process? You have to kind of just build the machine and put it there. You have to think about, how do I want to use the energy that I'm generating? What kind of energy? Do I use hot water? Do I use steam? Will I try to bring it into electricity? What am I doing with it? And you have to implement that. Then ideally, circular production means you bring it back into your value chain if you can. But just imagine changing an existing product. So you want to install a pyrolysis system, and then you also want to change the product. So it's like massive change for an operation or for a company to do so. And last but not least, just operating those pyrolysis system and making sure that you have the high quality of biochar you need for that application that you want to do. Because there's biochar, it's just a word, but you can put pretty much anything that has lignin in it into the process, and it will be very different what you get out. So it's really important to know what you're doing there, especially if you want to change your product and integrate that biochar in your product. And this is the reason, I believe, or this is why we founded Carbo Control, because we said, at the moment, we have it all together. We have the possibility to bring it back into supply chains. We can do all of this, and we can actually help an industry focus on what they can do and what they are best at and what is their focus. And we take over everything else around this business. And we're trying to make it a very easy solution. Yes, I stop here. So we said expertise is actually key for scaling biochar. And it rounds up what I just said. You have to use the input materials. Here you see some, wait, where? Oh, there. How does this work? Here you see some more of the products that you can actually do out of it. And also, of course, in the case of ThyssenKrupp, because they have no chance to use the biochar for their process. So we have the marketing channels to take that biochar back into our channels, bring it to the proper application, and therefore be able to give the certificate, the removal certificate, back to ThyssenKrupp. And if you have the whole process together, we believe we are something like a one-stop shop. This is where we're going to. Okay, so we are now talking always about removals. One of the ideas is, of course, that you want removals in the first place, right? I mean, you wouldn't do any of this and all of this work if you're not interested in removals. When looking at removals anyway, why biochar removal? And I just summed some of the things that I believe are major points. In this whole process, we have a valuable product. So I believe there needs to be an economy behind it. It needs to somehow foster a system that is working without only saying we only take out CO2 of the atmosphere. So this the high technology, which also of course costs a lot of money and all this effort, at this moment we believe there is a valuable product that will even rise in the next years and that we can monetize here. We have a readiness of technology in this. For the system that we just presented, the Purek, they have 35 systems up and running in the world. So it's not a new technology. It's just that it hasn't scaled really so far. Nobody has used it in an industrial environment. But it's not a new technology. We know how to run it. We know it works. Everything is well. There's a service contract. Everything is already in place. And then the scalability. We believe that also with the CO2 tax rising and the removal market just taking up right now, the market will scale and there will be more opportunities to bring this to life. And last but not least, this is really important, the security of the sink. We heard about it already before in regenerative agriculture. It's really hard to say how much CO2 did I sequester in the soil. And with the biochar, it's really easy. You have a ton of biochar, you know how many carbon content is in there, then you subtract the water, and then you can actually just count by how many carbon is in the CO2. That's an easy calculation, and you know exactly how much CO2 is stored in that biochar, and then you have to take care about transport and emission of the technology. But that's actually not really a hard calculation, so the LCA done on this is quite safe. And also, biochar has been said to be only have a midterm stability in the past. But with more research coming up, and most of the research on biochar has actually evolved in the last 5 years or last 4 years, we know that it is long-term stable. So we believe we're like on the same level with any other direct air capture technology to have a stable biochar in the ground. How am I on time? Yes? Oh, impressive. Very good. So what is it that we are actually promoting? Everybody wants to reduce the carbon footprint, right? That's sure. But we believe we should create new and valuable value chains around this carbon footprint. And in order to do so, we believe that you need a circular and collaborative approach. Because in this case, for example, ThyssenKrupp has the biomass, ThyssenKrupp wants the heat, ThyssenKrupp wants the certificate, but they don't really know where to take the biochar. If we connect industries and have a circular model and we actually get other industries to use this biochar, we can have a circular approach across companies and across industries. And this would be for us the real possibility to scale this technology. So let's move on to circular business models, companies and industries. If we do so, and I think this is a very impressive chart, and we saw it a few times already, SDGs. So just look at the sheer number of SDGs that the projects that we do inside of pyrolysis and biochar can touch. I think it's pretty impressive to see, because it is so complex all in all, and it needs so many steps along the way, it can also really have such a big impact. And I end with the picture of a microscope of our biochar where you see all the small holes, because we are focusing at the moment on the technology, but actually if you see all those holes, it's in there that the microbes are living, and it's in there that soil becomes fertile. And it's in there that you actually increase the health of your soil, the health of your plants, and that you actually have a fertile soil for everything else to happen and for more even more effects to happen that we can't measure right now: biodiversity, soil organic carbon, and a lot of the things that have already been mentioned today in regenerative agriculture. So, thank you.